the website and fill out today's evaluation for the workshop you're about to hear from. With us today, we have the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Director of the Educational Pipeline Initiative here at SUNY, and we have Jill Landry. So let's welcome her.
Thank you. I just wanted to start by thanking you all for coming today. I was looking at the agenda and was shocked by the interesting presentations that were all happening simultaneous to each other. So I guess that's the value of asynchronous learning environments, and I'm glad that we're streaming so we can learn about the others as well. I am right now working for Chancellor Zimper and Johanna Decken-Portier, who's the Senior Vice Chancellor for the Education Pipeline and Community Colleges at SUNY System Administration in Albany. And I've been at SUNY for a little bit more than 2 years, and our operation, as far as the education pipeline, was brand new when I started. And so I was a little nervous because I didn't really know what it meant, but we were very fortunate to have the Chancellor and the trustees guide us with a strong strategic plan that I think got us off to a good start. And we've had real strong partners from all of you across the 64 campuses. So thank you for those of you who have been working with us, and also I look forward to learning more about the work that you're doing. So before I get started, I know that it might take some time, but not that much time. And I think we're a small enough group that if you wouldn't mind, could we go around the room and have you introduce yourselves to me so I can kind of get a sense of where you're from? We want to start here?
I'm Susanna Fessler. I'm a professor of Japanese at SUNY Albany and also the chair of the University Senate there.
Thank you for coming.
Pat Lupino from Nassau Community College. I'm chairperson of the Marketing, Retailing, Fashion, and Interior Design Department.
Great, thanks very much.
Hey, Becky, I'm provost of Fire State College.
And press to the left, the president appointed. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Marissa Trachtenberg. I am the executive intern in President Stanley's office here at Stony Brook University.
Vicki Sloan from Clinton Community College, and we have my own coordinator now.
Great. Thanks for coming. Hi, Kim. How are you? Good to see you. We were just about to introduce ourselves, so I'm going to move toward the back. So,
Excuse me. Louise Kowalski, Department Chair of Information Technology at Erie Community College.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. Well, quite a trip, so just coming. Move over.
Long drive.
Hi,
I'm Lorraine North from Cuban Community College, and I think if you're information systems, but I'm also a division chair for a variety of disciplines. Yeah, I'm not going to move on.
Good. Well, thank you for coming. Hi.
John Zelenak, Faculty Technology and Resources at U Albany.
Okay. So my neck of the woods. Hi, welcome.
Lisa Raposo, I'm the Assistant Director and Academic Programs Manager at the SUNY Center for Professional Development.
Thanks for having us all here today.
Romain Prescott, Academic Computing at SUNY Potsdam.
Good. Thank you.
I'm Patricia Aceves. I'm Director of the Faculty Center in Teaching and Learning Technology here at Stony Brook.
Oh, great. Thank you for hosting us.
Deb Wakefield, Computer Science, Suffolk County Community College.
Great. Oh, what a diverse career. Let's start back.
Yep, Paul Edelson, Dean of the School of Professional Development at Stony Brook.
Great, thank you.
Carolyn Jankowski, Assistant Dean, School of Professional Development, and I oversee curriculum and academic.
Okay. Pretty cool. And did you want to introduce yourself?
Liz Foley from Suffolk County Community College also.
Oh, okay. And Kim?
Kim Scalzo from the SUNY Center for Professional Development.
Good. Thank you. I want to thank Kim for inviting me here today. It's really exciting, and I hope to have this really be a very interactive session. And judging from the way you describe yourselves, I hope you have lots of ideas and thoughts about the direction that we're headed and where we have potential to go in the future as far as advancing some of these strategies to really close the leaks that we'll see in the education pipeline, and then do some innovative things that I think that we could really have an impact on student success and student completion, which I know the provost yesterday talked a lot about. So I just have a slide to sort of guide our remarks, but again, feel free to answer any questions or ask any questions, and I'll be asking you questions, so I hope you can answer them as well. So I was really just struck by the theme of your conference, the power of connections. I thought it was just perfect because it's certainly the world by which we live. We have been working to form partnerships and really monopolize partnerships from the very beginning. And so I was hoping today we could do just the things that you had talked about in your conference program, discuss experiences and expertise from you, discuss some common problems, and I'll tell you where we have some problems and where I could really use some help, brainstorm some solutions and also explore ways to improve learning with technology. I think technology, as you all know, is so powerful, and I know that so many of you in the room have done such amazing things with technology, and some I know details about and others I don't, so I want to learn more. So I hope that at the end we can have an opportunity where you can share a lot of that with me. And I think the power of connections, the power of SUNY, our strategic plan that is still really guiding our work day in and day out, is appropriately named because I think with 64 campuses coming together, really sometimes all together through conferences, but also many times asynchronously and working with partners, not only in SUNY but in our regional communities, I think has been very, very powerful. So I wanted to start with the data, and maybe this is our common problem, so sort of what the data are telling us. And when we think about pipeline in SUNY, the Chancellor was thinking about cradle to career, and then we found to second career, and third career, fourth career, and it gets to be very complex. We have a lot of leaks in the pipeline, and I just pulled out a few data points today that I thought might be helpful in terms of guiding our discussion. One is our high school graduation rate, which is sort of reflective of everything from early education right through grade 12. But as you can see, we lose about a quarter or more of our students in our public schools every year that are not graduating from high school. And it's really not a number that we can afford to lose anymore, especially given the demands of our business and industry partners and our global workforce demands of today. So that's really very troubling. And I think in our urban schools, among our high poverty students, our minority students, those numbers are even worse. It makes me just sick to look at the, 2/3 of our students are graduating from urban and suburban schools. And then the New York State Board of Regents have been very, very concerned about college readiness lately. And far fewer of the students that graduate, they're finding, are prepared to succeed in college. And many of you probably, work with these students all the time in terms of trying to get them the developmental help and the other kind of support services they need to be successful. So unfortunately, we're not graduating enough of our students, and then even those students that we are graduating aren't prepared to be successful in college. So that is one, I think, important data point. The other point was related to teaching that I thought was also very important because we hear about teaching a lot in the news today, about improving teacher education, and it's definitely an important priority for the Chancellor, who was a former teacher, so it's therefore a very important priority to us. And we've been through a time where we had teachers in our schools with temporary teaching certificates. So they weren't even trained in the areas in which they were teaching. And those percentages were very, very high, back probably about 15 years ago. As a result of a lot of reform efforts, we've actually been able to change that picture quite a bit. And we have many more teachers now that are highly qualified and definitely certified in the areas in which they're teaching. And it's just important because if we look at the future of teacher education, another slide I'll show how SUNY prepares a quarter of the state's workforce in teaching. And so that's really important because our teachers are teaching our future students, and the dynamic goes hand in hand. So although we're doing a better job with having more appropriately certified and well-prepared teachers, we still have huge gaps in high-need schools and high-need disciplines such as mathematics and science and special education and students with disabilities as well as bilingual students. And we also have issues around teacher diversity. So we're trying to move the dial on that a lot, and a lot of that is going to depend on some innovation and curriculum. Chancellor talks about clinically rich teaching. We don't have the kind of money that we used to have to be able to support those initiatives where we can really scale up clinically rich teaching, but we have models like what's happening at Empire State College, where they've really taken the lead on teacher education using technology and are graduating really, really very highly qualified teachers. So we want to look at those kinds of models and really try to bring them to scale. I just shared an example of the Bread and Roses Integrated Arts High School is in Harlem, and Harlem is one of our partners in our Cradle to Career networks that I'll talk about in a little bit. And you still, even in 08-09, that was the latest New York State Education Department data, you were still looking at over 20% of teachers that were not certified in the area that they were teaching. So it really still is a problem in very high-need schools where our students need the most support and qualified teachers. The next part, I was going to college, as I was talking about college readiness, I was thinking a lot about remediation. And we have, as many of you know, a very high proportion of our students that are in need of remediation and developmental support. And the concern is, according to the State Education Department data, the more remedial courses a student is required to take in college, the less likely they are to succeed and graduate. So it's just, that's one of the, when I talk about problems in the beginning, I think that's a problem that we're trying to look at and be really serious about brainstorming solutions. And I'll talk about a little bit of work that we're doing in that area. But it really is a problem. And the other thing is that the remediation rates in our colleges are far underreported. So we have a lot of students, as I said, because they're not coming out of high school prepared for college, that are really falling behind and then not graduating in college. So that's really a very important concern for us too. And then sometimes these students are, after they left college, are going back to college years later and still have the same, if not more, needs in terms of extra support services to be successful. I just found this study on the way here, actually, which is that the National Center for Education Statistics reports that about half of our full-time students and 80% of our part-time students between the ages of 16 to 24 work while they're going to college. So that was really, I think, really hit me as, you know, we talk about adult students a lot of times that are working and going to college, but this is a really, really high percentage of traditional age students that are now looking for the flexibility that they need to be able to carry work responsibilities and family responsibilities at the same time. And so I think that's where many of you come in, and I hope to really get your thinking on how we can better serve these students and provide them with the high quality learning opportunities while allowing them the flexibility and possibilities for integration between work and college.
Are those numbers SUNY or nationwide?
Nationwide, yeah. And then also, we are also faced with a high percentage of adult students who do not have college degrees. It's startling that when you look at the red bar, the red bars are students without college degrees, where the blue bars are students with college degrees, and they really, adult students. And our business and industry partners are really, really looking for qualified adult students. That's a big population that they're looking at to become the future workforce for our partners. So the number is alarming, and I think we can do more to try to get more adult students back to school or toward degree completion, and some of you do such incredible jobs with that. So I hope you will share some of your experiences in that area too. So I was curious to know, the education pipeline is sort of this, theme of, running into the pipeline and then coming out prepared for life. Any perception or thoughts about the education pipeline from your point of view? It's kind of a new term. Yes, Kim.
So, coming from a continuing education background, and now in the role of professional development for our own faculty and staff,
right.
I sometimes wonder, how far on that career end of the pipeline are we looking? Are we looking at getting them to work,
right?
Or are there things that we could be doing more of to support people even after they've gotten their degree at work to continue? Because we look at the number of people in the workforce who are retiring now, and the need for people who are there to have their skills upgraded and training relevant with technology changes. And I'm not always sure when you talk about the education pipeline, how far are we going on that career end?
That's so true. That's so true. And I was just talking earlier, Paul was telling me about a new program that he's thinking about here at Stony Brook, and it was striking to me because I don't think that we give the further part of the pipeline that much attention as we do maybe the early childhood and some of the other places, or the connection between K-12 and college. So I think that's really an important area as we look to the future. I will tell you a funny story. When I started in this job about 2 years ago, I was all excited, and I remember going home and I was telling my parents about my great job, and my mother was like, I don't understand. And for the longest time, I said, okay, I'm a plumber. That's all you need to know. And I'm woefully underprepared, But and then, because the truth is, I was really woefully underprepared for this job because of the same things that you're talking about. It's you don't know the complexity about it until you work in the environment. And so, actually, the drawing that better depicts the education pipeline to me is this, where you have students coming in from all points of life, entering as early as pre-kindergarten or preschool, but not necessarily leaving, with a career and a college degree in hand. So I think we really need to be, aware of this, that it means, coming in, it might mean coming out, it might mean stopping out, coming back in. And the pipeline is very convoluted. So as you talk about policy, or talking about higher education policy earlier, it's just really important to keep in mind that it isn't so simple. It isn't a straight line to student success. Yes.
And I'll just say I have two sons who just graduated high school recently, and one went to college and the other one didn't right away. And his perspective was when he graduated, very bright, but he said he felt like a cog in the machine.
Really?
That he was, it was just like, you just have to take the classes. The end goal was graduating them.
Right.
And it was like, just get them through the process, get them through the process. And he didn't feel that there was any sort of individualization in it. He felt like just a cog in the machine.
Wow, that's sad to hear, but probably more true than we think.
It was all about the test scores, the graduation, the graduation competencies, was getting them out the door.
Wow. And I think some of our best colleges are giving students experiences where they have an opportunity to explore and learn about themselves, because a lot of these students, even adult students who are returning for another career, I think we have to think about the fact that, they're sort of learning things about themselves all over again, or maybe reframing their direction. But that's very true of traditional age students as well. It's the first time that they've had the experience to sort of find their passion and their energy and their drive, and it's important that we're cognizant of that. Which actually, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that after, or if you want to chime in now, about the role of technology. I think sometimes people are afraid that technology will take away the personalized support and the face that they really need to be successful. And so I was hoping for some of your advice on getting past some of those barriers so that we have a better understanding of how technology can actually be very, very helpful and very, very customized to the student. So, yes.
In the disciplines that we have in my area, which are marketing, retailing, fashion, and design, that the students have to be conversant with technology to be successful in the field that they choose. So even if they are phobic, we look at it as our job to expose them so that they don't walk out to the workforce. Even if we're teaching them one software program and another software program is used in the workforce, at least they're not afraid.
Right, that's so true. That's good. So one of the things that you're encountering is fear of technology now.
Yes.
Wow, interesting.
Yes, that can be. In our fashion design program, to what you were saying earlier, some of them graduate with an associate's degree, and that's all that field will ever require. And they're making, 100,000, 120,000, 130,000.
Wow.
2 years out of college. They don't need to come back in their mind at this point in time. That is their career, that is their passion, that is their love, their design.
Right.
Others sometimes go through a whole 4-year college program somewhere else, studying what mom or dad wanted them to learn, and they go in the workforce, they're not happy, and they come to us looking for a very specialized education.
I see.
So I think you're right. We can't define success as being you come in at this age and you leave at that age and you go into your career. It's different for your interest.
You're absolutely right, and I just keep learning how multidimensional this is as the days go forward, and that's why I think it's sort of constantly expands our need to be more innovative and more meeting the needs of all kinds of different diverse students, and trying to reduce this pipeline, because we have trying to reduce the gap in the pipeline, because we have a real challenge as we look to the future, both for the quality of life as well as work opportunities.
One of the other things that we get pushed a lot is what's our graduation rate in some of these programs, and it really doesn't matter to the student. They're coming to you for what they're looking for.
Right, I see.
And it's not necessarily the degree.
Right, right.
They might have a degree already. So I think we have to get over ourselves sometimes.
I agree. Well, it's funny because I didn't put college graduation
graduation
rates. No, but it was very funny because I was picking through some data, and I just thought that the college graduation rates were not necessarily as meaningful to the bigger picture that I was trying to talk to today. Important though. I mean, I think ultimately we're about completion and success, but you're right. I think that it's such a unique experience for each individual student that it can be a different thing.
And still be success.
And still be success, right. Like, how do we count success is really the question, right? Kim, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about technology and, in what ways can we address the issue of, technology being a barrier to kind of human connection. And I think, when our keynote speaker today was talking about our connections and all the different ways in which technology can actually facilitate and support people connecting with each other. And I think that, and I know there have been some conversations about, how we cultivate a culture of using technology effectively to support education. And one of the things I heard the Chancellor say at a meeting, I don't know, several months ago, was had to do with our teacher education programs. And that we have these gaps from high school to college, and we as SUNY are the primary educator of teachers in the schools.
Right, exactly.
And so what opportunities do we have for professional development with teachers, with our teacher education faculty, to help them be comfortable using technology so that when they get into the classroom, they're prepared to work effectively and help their students learn effectively using technology. Students today, I think there's probably a range of their comfort level with technology, although I think we're seeing more of them with these handheld devices and tablets and whatever. They're in many ways very comfortable with some technologies.
Right.
They're ahead of our faculty. I'm sorry, ahead of their teachers.
Okay.
And so how do we help our faculty who are in teacher education programs get really comfortable with technology so they're preparing future teachers who know how to use that technology in the teaching and learning process. And I've had some conversations with Ruth Haggerty.
Oh, good, okay.
About a project with State Ed.
Yes,
and how we can build technology into some of the activities that she's trying to do in the teacher education program.
That's right. That's so great.
I think that's an important piece of this, the leaks in the pipeline, is that's where some of it breaks down.
Right, absolutely. That's important. And I'm glad that you're talking to Ruth. I just left Ruth but I'll get to that in a little bit. We were meeting with the small design team about that very topic.
Excellent.
So good. Paul, and then I'll take you.
Yeah, we will shortly have an advanced graduate certificates in K-12 online education. So maybe another
really?
Yeah.
So that we can just
yeah. And I know up here you guys are have is it a new degree yet, Meg, or coming out in teaching and teaching and learning. Yeah. So
empowers a lot of the way in a lot of ways. Yes. Sorry.
I work a lot with the high school students. We have a very large concurrent enrollment program.
Okay.
And when I talk to the students about what they want to do, if they go on to college, they'll say, well, my guidance counselor told me. And there's like 5 career paths for them. And that's all they know. So many times they go to the guidance counselor, and this is where the guidance counselor says that they go. And when I look at your, and that's one point. So I think we need to talk to the guidance counselors
about career exploration.
About career opportunities. And I don't know if they're doing a test and saying this is where you belong. And I've had students that said, well, I never came to your department because my guidance counselor said. And it's like, I don't understand.
That's right.
But working in a community college, the thing that I find very difficult for my students, not so much using technology in the classroom because they have that teacher with them for that 15 weeks, is navigating the student support services area. They don't know what to do when they get to college. They don't know how to navigate the college system.
Or even what's available to them.
And what's available. And they go to one office and one person tells them this and another person tells them this. And they wander around, and it's so frustrating. We have a large number of veterans that just came back to the school.
Right.
And I'm not the veterans coordinator, but I started working with them because I could just see the frustration. They don't know our system. We don't even really know our system sometimes, do we? I'm finding that as I talk to different people.
Yeah.
But I would like to see more technology put into place in the student support services, where a student could ask a question, maybe get an instant answer instead of just an informational website.
That's good.
More interactive type website to answer those questions. Hi, I want to take this, could I take that course too? Or if all these questions that's how and I'm not saying that student support services isn't doing a good job. I'm just saying that the college experience is very difficult for many students. In high school, you ring a bell, they know where to go. In college, they just have to be there.
Right.
And they don't know, they're waiting for the bell to ring or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
Well, they move from an environment in which the whole system advocates for them into an environment where they have to advocate for themselves.
Correct.
Because nobody else cares.
Correct.
I think K-12 they learn different days, like instead of being Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's day one or day
Yeah,
A.
yeah.
What is day
Right.
A? What is day one? That doesn't work in the workplace.
Right,
Right.
that's true.
Or in college.
We need to date
Do you have a
that.
seminar?
They have
for your
days
freshmen?
in middle school.
Do you have a seminar
Does
class
that
for your
make sense?
freshmen, and do they incorporate technology into that for them?
We have an orientation for new students coming in. But it's pretty much, fill out these forms and do this and do this and meet with an advisor. There's many questions that, I tend to get a lot of students coming to me, because I think advisement is one of my most important jobs in all of this. Because I think when we talk about student retention and that, we lose so many of them because they're frustrated with the process, at least from what I can see. So they go to orientation and they come out with this package, this little bag, has a logo on it, and they say, now what do I do? They still don't know what to do. So I just see a real need for that.
That's helpful, very helpful. I've seen some things that worked. I was just at the Regional Literacy Zones Conference at KUGA last week, and they are working with the RAIN, the Regional Adult Education Networks, are working with a tool called Learner Web that sort of does do that. It's out of Seattle, and it gives them a customized online guidance support system that tells them where they can get all the different things they need, from if they need to learn English and they need to sign up for some classes, or they need citizenship information, or they need to try to file for health insurance. Or they're trying to collaborate a lot of that together. So you're right, Bill, they're so critical, and we do need to do better to scale that up. Thanks.
I was going to follow up on the freshman seminar. We have a required, we're a 4-year institution, every freshman that comes in, they have to take a 1-credit class, and it leads them through, how do you register, support services, disability services, intro to the library, it makes them go to a sporting event or a cultural event. That's something that hopefully retains the students a little bit more and introduces them to a campus
Because there's
life.
a connection.
Right.
It's a good strategy because it is daunting. So, did you have something to say in the back? I'm sorry, I thought you raised your hand.
I think the opportunity I don't know.
Okay, that's thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, the community colleges typically don't have that freshman seminar because they drop in and drop out,
That's true.
different points.
Because of the pipeline, right?
But,
right. How do you reach every student through a seminar style fashion, right?
But we just had a year, we've done this for 1 year now, a requirement for students who do not pass placement tests in 1 to 3 areas, reading, writing, math.
Okay.
And we use this on-course program, which is really a way to, it's not just study skills, it is how to take responsibility for yourself and how to overcome obstacles like that, kind of we do a 1-credit course, it's a 15-week course for students who fail, or who need remediation in at least one area. If they need remediation in 3 areas, they take a 3-credit-hour course, which expands on those principles.
Is it in person or is it hybrid?
We do it both.
Oh wow.
We do online and we do classroom.
Okay, very helpful.
And we haven't got data yet to how successful this is.
That's all right. That's,
but it seems to fill that need for that transition. It's like, okay, now community college students are coming from all different areas.
That's
They're
right.
not just high school students trying to adjust to college. They're non-traditional students trying to get back into, and they have all kinds of problems.
Right. So they do, and challenges and
this
needs.
is it's just a whole different philosophy. I had a workshop, a 3-day workshop on it, so I'm not an expert, but I've at least been introduced.
It's very helpful. Thank you.
Skip Downing is the philosophy behind this. He's the one who started the whole
helpful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
And Jill, you might address this in your presentation if you are, just say so.
No.
But I'm wondering what your office is thinking about student e-portfolios as a transitional piece from K-12 into college. And those of you who know, we have a big push at Stony Brook on e-portfolios, and for students coming into school, transferring from 2 years to 4 years into graduate school and lifelong learning.
Right.
And I know some states have statewide efforts at starting a student e-portfolio in kindergarten and continuing them all the way through college.
Right. We've been actually doing some coordination with the state education department, with Commissioner King, to try to look at those kind of innovative models, and we would really like to strengthen those opportunities to try to create things like e-portfolios or other kinds of things that really do strengthen the linkages between K-12 and higher education, instead of having this gap that is sometimes seems like students can't even overcome, the difference between, to your point earlier, high school and college. So thanks for bringing that up as a good strategy.
Just one other question. We talk about this a lot, but I've always wondered, have we ever brought some of these students into a group, like brought them in and said, why are you not succeeding? You know, so just grab a group of students and what are some of the problems you're faced with in that? Because it's our perception versus their perception.
That's right.
And there may be things that we, simple things that we're just missing.
That's right. That's right. Yes. And so I'll talk about it a little bit. We've been trying to talk to students a lot to try to learn those things, because the Provost's office has been leading a grant with the Lumina Foundation called Project Win-Win, and they've been trying to get students that are just on the cusp of graduating to degree completion. And I've found that a number of times they tell the story that it could be a parking fine or some administrative technicality that you would never have imagined keeping somebody from a degree, But that does happen. So you're right. Student outreach is critical. So thanks for the reminder on that. Yeah.
This is what I was going to say before, but in terms of the pipeline and that gap, the area high schools, I'm up in Clinton County, have come to us, and we're very grateful because we've tried to reach out before, but now they want to do this. We're working particularly with math. At the end of the high school juniors year, they're taking our math placement test, and then that is, we're doing a diagnostic on it, and that is informing what kind of math they're going to take as seniors.
Oh God!
So
really? And so the high school's receptive to the feedback they're getting from you?
We're just starting. It's just a pilot right now.
Very interesting.
One school. We have CAP, college advanced placement programs with 5 or 6 different high schools, but one school has agreed that this would be.
Love to hear more about that. That's really very exciting.
I mean, we have an arithmetic class because of the lack of preparation. But yeah, we're hoping to eliminate that course.
It's more common than uncommon, and it's urban and rural, as you're discussing. And I think one of our biggest powerful strategies for the reform agenda is really trying to regionally tighten the connections between our K-12 schools and higher education and our business and industry partners and others. So I'll speak to that a little bit, but yeah, thank you. I would love to hear more about that. Great. So just to give you sort of an overview of what we've been doing, we've been focusing on a number of things. And these circles keep growing. We started out with 3, and now we have all these big priorities that we've been working on as far as the education pipeline from the SUNY system administration perspective in partnership with all of you at the campuses. So we have early college high school initiative, I'll speak to that, some Cradle to Career Success initiatives, strengthening remediation and reducing the need for remediation. STEM is very exciting, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, and you were just talking about the importance of being introduced to technology at the very basic level, all the way up to graduate programs like you have here, at the very complex and distinguished level. Our SUNY Works Cooperative Education Initiative to try to also help students become prepared for what's required in the workforce. And then also teacher preparation, which we talked a little bit about. So I'll just go through each of them real quickly, and if anybody has any comments or ideas. The first one is our Smart Scholars Early College High School, and we started this about 2 years ago. To your point about students not knowing what to expect at college. So we were at Corning Community College, and we were talking to students. There were high school students that were actually co-located on the college campus. And if you've been to Corning, it seems like you drive up to the campus and you find the parking lot and you find the student center, you see the typical campus. But the students in the high school that was co-located on the campus said that if they hadn't been going to high school in that building, they probably would have never gone to college, because the idea of the parking lot, where to park, where to go for registration and admission was so daunting that they said working with the president's office and being student workers in the school and knowing sort of how the the departments were organized helped them to motivate the students to go to college. So I thought that was really inspirational. So thank you for that story. And what we did was we had a grant through the Gates Foundation, and we established 23 early college partnerships across the state. Many of which have SUNY partners. We also have CUNY partners and private colleges that have partnered up with these high schools. And what was different about this initiative, because there are a lot of concurrent enrollment classes of early college initiatives, but we were really trying to target those students who might not have even graduated from high school, the kids that were really historically underserved in college, and try to get them to complete high school while earning at least some college credit. So the Gates Foundation grant set 20 college credits. Some are, aspiring to finish an associate degree while they're in high school, and as you can see, a number of them are already earning up to 4,000 college credits and certainly on track to high school graduation. So it's a small initiative, but it's really important in terms of trying to get these students that were historically underrepresented into the college campus while they're still in high school. And we actually named it Smart Scholars because we wanted them to sort of have a new perception of themselves about being in this sort of exclusive opportunity to have this chance to do college while in high school. So it's been very effective, and we're really excited about those students. And to hear them, it's just so inspiring. And then the second thing is regional Cradle to Career networks. I don't know if any of you have heard Chancellor Zimfer speak about the success that she had in Cincinnati with something called Strive, which is a partnership that is made up of K through 12 educators, higher education, early childhood education, local philanthropists, business and industry leaders. It runs the gamut. And so she tried this out and sort of started the model in Cincinnati. And they looked at the pipeline from cradle to career with all kinds of transition points. So the transition between kindergarten and first grade, and then 5th and 6th, 8th and 9th. And they really did a lot of studying on where the key transition points are, where they had focused their efforts. And they've had major successes in Cincinnati as a result. And it's really helped them to bring their resources together, albeit limited, and try to marshal them to really try to impact student outcomes. And they have had student outcomes, and I'll show you, they've developed the first of its kind report card of student outcomes from cradle to career. And consistent with that model, we are now working across the state to try to bring that model to life in other areas. And you can see Clinton County, President Jablonski's been incredible, actually becoming the first rural cradle to career network in the nation. So Strive, after Cincinnati, has since gone national because there were so many other partners across the country who were interested in trying to bring these partners together. And each of the partnerships agree on a small set of outcomes that they expect to achieve. And so that's the key, is keeping not boiling the ocean, I guess, so to speak, and keeping the outcomes very structured. So we're working in North Country. Rochester's up and running. They're called Rock the Future there. Albany Promise. Also, we're working in Harlem with the Abyssinian Development Corporation. And then also we have a lot of others. Queens Astoria, Zone 126 is very active, and the Anchor Institution in that partnership. And actually came to us because they said that a lot of their students are at the City University of New York, and many of their students had aspirational goals to come here to Stony Brook. So we're actually working with President Stanley as we speak to try to really firm up that partnership and make sure that Stony Brook is a part of those students' futures, which is really great. And then we also have interest from Mohawk Valley and Geneva and Yonkers and Brooklyn and Farmingdale, and it's been really exciting. We've been just trying to keep up with technical assistance because the good thing about these models is they're pretty structured, providing some kind of flexibility around the regional agenda. So it's been exciting to see these people come together in a meaningful way with some of our presidents and other college leaders leading the charge. And so I just brought the Albany Promise one to light because we just launched the Albany Promise in May, and everybody was really excited. We had this big launch, and our business partners were contributing funding to ensure appropriate staffing, because it is, like I said, there's a very important foundational structure that underlies these models, including engaged partners, mission, vision, goals, a defined geographic scope, secured funding, and a roadmap, and also a baseline report card. I'll go to that because we just recently released the Albany Promise Baseline Report Card, where we put all the data for our target neighborhoods in Albany out for the public to see. in one place. And so I actually took out the other end of the pipeline about graduates attaining employment and post-secondary degree and credential, but we also have indicators such as kindergarten readiness and grade 3 through 8 performance, high school graduation, as well as, it was very interesting, the healthcare community and other partners came to us and said, we have to be in your data, because if students aren't healthy, they're not going to be succeeding. Planned Parenthood came to us and said, we have a high proportion of students in of teenage pregnancies in our schools right now. It's really impacting student learning, and we want that data in there. And so we were like really excited about the opportunity that everybody was sort of taking this idea of shared accountability and really bringing it to life. So it's online. If you go to SUNY.edu, you can sort of see the report card, but we're moving this out to the community so they also understand the indicators with which we're working, and then helping other communities to develop similar baseline measures. The other thing I said is STEM, and we're so excited. Within this last year, SUNY became the new home for the STEM Empire State Learning Network. So anybody who knows Margaret Ishida, she may have been out in your area, she's now working with us at SUNY as a result of a grant from the Mattel Foundation. And what that has helped us to do is really infiltrate STEM in all of our work. And it's so essential as we look to future workforce opportunities. And we're just excited to have this expertise. She is also coordinating the idea of regional STEM hubs. Just like in education, our STEM colleagues want to be connected in a meaningful way with a structured framework. And so we now have 5 STEM hubs off the ground, including one here. And by the end of 2012, the remaining economic development regions that were established when Governor Cuomo was working on economic development competition earlier this year, they will all have STEM regions. So it really comes out as a coordinated way of getting our STEM efforts together regionally. And I think we can have long-term impact about connecting K-12, college, and also business and industry in STEM areas. The other thing, our SUNY Works Cooperative Education Initiative, this is also in our strategic plan. And the idea here is to really provide 21st century career experiences to students while they're completing degrees. And we saw that students need jobs in order to maintain their home responsibilities, and then also want academic degrees or credentials in order to find different work or future work. And so we're trying to create a co-op situation at many campuses. Many campuses already have successful co-ops, and so the first order of business was to go out and find out what's working really well. And then the second now is to try to pilot either expansion or new co-op programs at a number of campuses. And we were lucky to have a grant from the Lumina Foundation that would allow us to fund either expansion or new co-ops at what is now becoming, I think, 10 or 11 campuses. But we're really excited that these campuses are happening, including here at Stony Brook, as well as Suffolk, Buffalo, Onondaga, Monroe, Hudson Valley, Fulton, Montgomery, FIT, and Cayuga. So the Chancellor wants to bring this opportunity for co-op education to scale. So this is another place where I could really use your help, because a lot of times co-op education is very, very complicated in that you have students who are working, who are also earning academic credit. They need flexibility. We also need to help support the employers, because as employers are working with students and training them, we want to make sure the academic piece of their experience is linked to the work experience. And so employers need a little help in that area and aren't going to come back to college necessarily. We don't have the time to dedicate a whole day from 9 to 5 to working with us. So technology might be really, really essential. I think it is really, really essential to cooperative education. So I think use your thoughts there too. And also, as with the Lumina Foundation, we also got to be a member of the Adult Degree Completion Network, and we've really been trying to reach out nationally to networks like this to try to find the best strategies, projects, things that are working really well, things that people tried and have not been successful, just to try to learn from them and to benchmark the promising practices. So we're really fortunate to be part of this Adult Degree Completion Network through Lumina, and have been getting great ideas on concierge models, for example, which is sort of a one-stop shopping for adult students, might be particularly effective for veteran students, and other kinds of exciting things that we really hadn't necessarily thought about. And many SUNY campuses are doing very similar things. So we're trying to learn from everybody, learning from SUNY, learning from the state, and also learning from national best practices. And I also talked about remediation earlier, and we were having a conversation about the students that are in need of remediation, and how it's not just necessarily academic credits they need, but they also need student support, and there's a vast need for the students, I think, that are in our remedial courses. And so Senior Vice Chancellor Johanna Megan-Portier is leading a team of folks made up of college presidents, faculty, K-12 representatives, national leaders, and other stakeholders to try to take a real look at remediation and try to develop some strategies for reducing the need for remediation so less students come to our colleges unprepared and need remediation, and then also strengthen remediation where we can. And they are also looking at promising practices across SUNY and across the state and across the nation, partnerships, making connections. I mean, all those things are critical, and using technology to try to strengthen remediation, I think, is going to be key. So I will more than welcome your ideas and thoughts on that because they're certainly needed. And it's a good time, if you have them, to share data, to share ideas, to share thoughts, to share successes, because the task force is meeting again, I think it's in July, and they'll be having a third meeting in the fall. So between now and the fall, to the extent we can collect as much information as we can on what works and what can be successful for the future would be really helpful. And of course, teacher preparation, and Kim, you're talking about how SUNY prepares such a great number of teachers, and as I mentioned, I just left a group of faculty who are working with us, faculty and deans from across SUNY, who are working with us to design. We have a great opportunity that's come down the road with the State Education Department, in that they are trying to complete the Race to the Top goals and actually provide faculty with professional development opportunities in key areas around Race to the Top and also in clinically rich teaching, which is a priority for the Chancellor. So we're trying to design an opportunity that would reach faculty across the SUNY system. So we're looking for some kind of consistency. We're also looking for some kind of a long-term approach. So how do we do this without not providing one point-in-time training and then or professional development and then walking away? And the other challenge that we have is that we have so many experts in education and teacher education and leadership education across SUNY. We really want to bring that expertise to bear across the system. So we're exploring regional centers of pedagogy for long-term warehousing of information that is important to teachers, and also demo sites for practicing teachers, et cetera. But technology, again, is going to be key to this work. So we would invite any thoughts or ideas that you have about that. And we do have two of our colleges who were awarded grants to start clinically rich teaching, which is intensive teacher training akin to the kind of preparation that the Chancellor refers to as doctors and other professions receiving. And as we mentioned, Empire State is also taking the lead without additional resources, so we really give them credit and hope that we can model and learn from them too. So the teaching is a very big priority for us. And then lastly, new connections and innovation. This is where our work keeps growing and changing. And there's some key areas that we're really, really focused on to try to strengthen the education pipeline. One, as I said earlier, was expanded community and regional connections, making the linkages. So we really have to do that in new and meaningful ways. And I put Buffalo State College out there as an example because through their new community academic center, they're sort of seen as a resource to communities that are in high need, particularly the West End of Buffalo. And we're seeing that through our regional literacy zones that are working across the state with the State Education Department. They're really trying to make community connections and using technology to get the word out, to provide customized support services, but we're looking at more opportunities to really work closer with community leaders. Then also SUNY and the global education pipeline, and we have a Japanese studies professor, you said?
Japanese
language study. Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for coming, because I was reading the recommendations of the Council of Foreign Relations before I came here, and they're so concerned about a future workforce and also future citizenry that have no preparation in foreign languages or foreign culture and foreign studies, and that's an area that continues to be cut. And I think it's a little bit contradictory at a time. It's very contradictory at a time when we're thinking about SUNY and really a global education pipeline, because there's so many opportunities today that are absolutely global. The workforce is global, learning from each other is global. I was at Global Foundries the other day, which is a new chip manufacturing plant in Malta, New York, which is near Albany. And they were bringing in leaders from across the world to look at their site and to try to share ideas and figure out how to solve this education pipeline problem. And we're not the only country facing it, but it seems like we need to do a lot more to get ahead of the curve instead of what we seem to be doing now, which is sort of falling behind the curve. So I think the idea of SUNY global education pipeline is increasingly important. And there are a number of funding and grant opportunities that we're working on. U.S. Department of Education I3 grant, which is innovation grant, that we work with SUNY Old Westbury to try to innovate their portions of their teacher education program at the graduate level. And then also a partnership with the New York Academy of Sciences to bring graduate student mentoring to scale. So they have a program in New York City where graduate students mentor middle school students in STEM fields, do really exciting things, robotics, biology, all kinds of fun and interesting things that students really get engaged in. And so we are now praying, so keep your fingers crossed, for an NSF grant that will allow us to expand this partnership to other regions in the state. But again, when you're delivering things like training for graduate students to go and teach students or work with students on a hands-on basis, you need to give them support. And so that's where the online portion came into play. This grant, and Empire State's been really helpful with us in that too, because they've been playing a leading role in terms of trying to get the professional development for these students to be consistent and also get it out there so it's high quality. So it's really very exciting. And then also we just submitted the U.S. Department of Labor's TACT grant, which is a grant that helps to find career opportunities and retrain students, adult workers mainly, who have lost their jobs due to foreign trade and other competitive kinds of opportunities in our regions. So we're also hoping for that grant and many others, but I guess the key to all three of these is technology and innovative curriculum design. So I guess I'll end with your ideas, because I know I give a lot out, and I want some feedback about where we could go in the future, but also I really am very eager to hear about your best practices too. And then lastly, my last slide, which is again the power of partnerships, the power of connections. And no one entity can do it alone, and that's certainly been our motto from day one. And thank you, because the work that you do has been key to the success of our efforts, but of the efforts of the system, and of plugging the leaks that are happening in the pipeline. Without you, our students wouldn't have half the opportunity to do, and they tell us that all the time. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope you can share some ideas. Any thoughts? I know I gave you a lot, right? I was talking fast because I thought we would end early in here today.
How are New York graduation rates compared to the rest of the country?
They're pretty consistent. Yeah, they're pretty consistent. At the college level, SUNY actually has a higher graduation rate than other colleagues in the state. But as far as high school goes, it's pretty consistent across the nation. Poverty seems to be a real, the main indicator of student success or lack thereof, which is why I think we're dedicating a lot of our efforts to working in high-need urban and also rural areas. That's been a large goal for us.
And another question, we have we have a lot of poverty here in the Buffalo area with our students.
Yes.
As we introduce technology in many of our courses, we find that the students don't have the digital divide. They don't have the tools that they need to be able to access that technology. Is any of that going to be?
Is that, I've heard about that for a long time, and I think that sometimes it gets sort of swept under the rug, like, don't worry about it, but that's a real situation that we really do have to deal with. So, yeah, it's
maybe
true.
just a little satellite center where students could actually go and use technology to be able to do their coursework in that. Because you'll send them home. When I was at the city campus, you'd send them home and they'd say, well, I just don't have the resources to do this. We didn't pay the cable bill, somebody stole our laptop.
And that's what I was talking about, expanding community connections just for that reason. So that like what we can do sort of what Buffalo's done and set up these centers where the students can have the support, the technology, the resources that they need to succeed. So it's about scaling it up and sustaining those things, which is really critical.
Before coming to SUNY, I worked at a campus where I managed a college in the prisons program.
Oh, really?
And New York is very active in that, but it's all with the private. So we've got Bard, Manhattanville, and Alfred that are involved in that. Does SUNY have any connections with
the history with that offhand? I can look into it and just find out more, because it does seem like an effective model, and I think the data has been very promising.
The data has been really promising. That even college courses, not vocational, but higher education, associate degrees awarded in prison reduced recidivism nationally from 60% to less than 10%.
Wow.
And it's stunning, and it's been validated over and over again. And the private colleges are heavily into it, and around the country, a number of public institutions are in it. But it's difficult to justify that to taxpayers sometimes.
It is challenging, but I've heard there's a common concern that comes up across our Cradle to Career Network building, and it's really a problem if you have a high prison population, you have parents that are at home with the student, etc. So it does. So thank you for bringing that up.
And the chances, the research has shown that children are less likely to succeed in high school if they have a parent in prison.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
And some states, I know this is getting off topic, but some states actually determine the number of beds they purchase in prisons based on 3rd grade reading scores.
Wow. Wow.
They can forecast prison bed needs based on 3rd grade reading scores.
That is powerful. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been Auburn. We have maximum security prison in
Yeah.
Auburn. And we've had programs at the prison. Cornell is currently very involved, but they cannot issue associate degrees, so we are working with Cornell to deliver associate degrees. So we had to actually match up the courses that they were actually going to the prison and teaching with our courses so that we could grant the degree.
I'll tell you, when we were looking at developing the Albany report card, and I just remember this because it was the first one that we really did, this with a very comprehensive approach, and I was amazed at the data indicators that impact student growth and learning. You just wouldn't believe it, and then they run the gamut. So all these things are so essential to the education pipeline. They are. They really are. Anyone else? Thank you for, yeah, go ahead.
One of the things we've found that works very well, you talk about partnerships with businesses to engage the students in service learning projects.
Yes.
And
That's
I think we've been doing it for the last 5 to 6 years in our areas, and it's extremely successful in that it partners the students out in the business community and gives them that experiential learning that they need. But you also form a great relationship with business that in turn often translates to additional opportunities or monies. So, for example, this semester Gap called us, and they have a program, Gap for Community Colleges, and they gave us a small little grant to award scholarships to our students in exchange for learning more about business, learning more about industry. So
good.
I think that the service learning aspect, giving back to the community, applying what you've learned is also a key to retention and graduation.
It is. You know, one of the things that we've been struggling with is that in the strategic plan that SUNY developed, we have another goal called SUNY in the Vibrant Community, and we've been putting experiential education in that pocket. And the Chancellor just told us the other day, she's like, we have to think big about this. You know, so the education pipeline is so broader than what we initially defined, and we're learning that. But experiential education,
And found for us it was you build one relationship, and on that come all the other relationships from other people who begin to hear about you.
That's right. That's so true. That's helpful. Thank you for drawing that connection, because it really is there and very important. Good. Yes.
So, Jill, I wanted to just mention that there are a lot of sessions here at this conference.
Yes.
About innovative programs that our campuses are doing related to the pipeline. So I don't know if you had a chance to look through the program.
I did.
Yeah.
I was stunned. I was like, oh my gosh, because it was so wider.
A lot of activity on our campuses, and I'm going to relate this back to the Innovative Instruction Initiative out of the strategic plan. And one of the outcomes of that group last year was that we really just, one of the things we really needed to is a way to share information and to communicate information and let people know what is happening so that everybody has the same understanding of everything that's going on. And connect with each other. So we are, we're working on developing a SUNY Learning Commons. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
I have.
Yeah,
so
excited. We're in the very early stages of that, and it's, we have some more work to do just to kind of, plan it out and see, when is that going to be implemented and how is it going to roll out in the various functions. But, I think that this is another one of those areas where there's a lot happening in pockets, and if we could just somehow harness that, and we could learn from each other, make connections. That really is very much to this activity as well. Because and I just want to really thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing.
You are doing
Incredible. I felt, and I hope everybody thinks it's good. This is valuable information for everybody to have, and on the campuses, they don't always know what's happening at system administration.
Oh, I thought, right. Okay, I'm glad to be able to help, because
Yeah.
I understood that. I thought, sometimes I feel like we have been so busy with accomplishing these things and working toward these goals that I really did want to take the time now to try to make the connection and continue to build on good connections that we have, but meet more of you. And really, I do appreciate all the incredible work that you do. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.